Hey, everybody. Just wanted to share a few thoughts with you, some things that I think are very important. Before I do that, there is a reason that I do all of these videos and a focus for every single one. I have four sons, or at least three that are still living. One is not with us any longer. And so these videos and this focus is all in his name for his honor. And I think, how can I best help someone that is not here any longer? The best way I know to help somebody is to help young men that are his age now, when he passed away about 17. So young men that are in high school, juniors and seniors, that is the focus. Uh, my sons, the remaining three sons that I have, this is advice that I give them, and I give an honor for my other son. Thank you for joining. You're welcome to join as I give this advice, but that is the focus. That is the reason. That is the reason I do these things. Um, so, I make a weird habit on Sundays of going down to Walmart, not to do some shopping, but to look for people that need help. You know, people maybe that are even holding signs. And, a lot of people go out in snowstorms, not as much down here in southern Utah, but go out in snowstorms looking for people that need help, that have run off the road, that they can help. But why wait for a snowstorm? There are people right now that are really struggling with life problems and issues. And some people are struggling so much that they actually hold up signs looking for any help that they can get. And I think it's very interesting. You can tell a lot about a society by the way they treat their poor. Of course, you can also tell a lot about a person individually by how they treat poor people, or how they treat people that are what they consider lesser than themselves. If God wanted to test somebody's heart, how do you think he would do it? I think a lot of times he puts people in our place in front of us that are on hard times and needing help. Sometimes maybe the person that's holding the sign is not who you think they are. Maybe they're sent by God himself to see what we will do as we run into these people. Before I get into some of those details, I wanted to kind of share some of the coolest things. So I was sharing a video, like doing a live video on X, or what used to be Twitter. And I was walking around up behind my house, and I happened to run into one of these, which I thought was really cool. They're not really common. So desert tortoise, um, most of the time during the day, they're burrowed in somewhere. So I thought that was really cool. It was quite a treat. So you have to look for that on X, and you can see it happen live. Here's another picture of this little guy. Um, so I picked him up and took him home. I'm just kidding. I know that's like super illegal, and I did not do that. Didn't touch him or anything. So yeah, here's another shot of him, and here's a fourth shot. Yeah, very cool. I thought that was a huge treat to be able to see that. Anyway, I'm just going to leave that up while I'm talking, because you'd probably rather watch the turtle than me. But so yeah, well, I was on Sunday last week on my way. I went down to Walmart and I found this lady that was holding a sign. And so I parked my car around the corner. And while I was walking up the sidewalk, kind of pretended like I was just going to walk by. But while I was doing that, a SUV that happened to be a Porsche drove up, paused as they hit the stop sign, and then went past her. And as they went past her, they said something like, "Loser, get a job." Because I could kind of hear it wasn't, I was close enough, I could hear what they were saying. And I thought, holy cow, talk about bad karma. I mean, is this lady already, she's in a bad position. You know, how humiliating it must be to hold a sign asking for help and then to have people like that make things worse. So I stopped and I talked, and yeah, I did give her a little money, but we talked about resources in town, but I didn't get to that. She was so upset, I think in part by that last reaction, but she told me hours before she was at a public park, a public place in the restroom, washing up, probably doing sponge bath kind of stuff. And some of the workers for the city came in and started rattling the stall door, trying to get her to come out, just making her life miserable and how upset she was. And she talked about how she hated people here in southern Utah and they were so bad and they were awful. And so I talked to her for a while and I started telling her, you know, about some of the resources we have here that can help long term. And not all people are like that. There are good people here. And just with a few words, she said, "Thank you so much for coming to talk to me. It means so much. I've been praying to God to change how I was feeling." She didn't talk about the money I gave her. She talked about what I did. I showed some sympathy or for some concern for her condition. And I was totally willing to drive her down to the homeless shelter. But in this day and age, with women, you have to be very cautious. And so I would have gladly have offered that if my wife would have been with me. Sad world we live in. But anyway, that led me to believe or led me to think about a number of things. You know, do we make people's lives harder or do we make people's lives easier? You know, and a lot of times, even people, the church going type of people, are not great people. Sometimes they're not good people. And, you know, to be called by his name, to say, I am a Christian, means more than just where you spend your Sundays. Matter of fact, there were a group of people uh, in ancient times that wanted to be called by his name, that wanted to make a commitment. And this prophet and this scripture said, before you do that, you have to, I'll show you another picture. You have to make certain commitments to God to be able to do that. And it says here, as your desires to come into the fold of God and to be called his people, and are willing to bear one another's burdens that they may be light, yea, and are willing to mourn with those that mourn, and comfort those and stand in need of comfort. So, are we willing to help other people? Are we willing to make burdens lighter? If we are not willing to do that, we are not called by his name. We're in a different fold. We can't take that name upon us. We're not acting like him. You know, he came, the Lord came, and he spent all of his time ministering, helping, teaching, lifting, telling people how to live their lives that would raise them to the next level. And people would come to him, Lord, what should I do? One rich guy, he told, go sell everything and give it to the poor because his riches were more important than his relationship with God. He was calling to people, we have to do the same thing. Are you a Christian in words only, or do your actions line up with your words? Are you making people's lives harder or easier? You know, when you see a homeless person, do you instantly go to judgment or to mercy? How do you want God to treat you? Aren't we all beggars in his sight? Everything that we have good in our life comes from him. There is nothing that we can claim of ourselves. Every breath I take is on loan from him. Every time my heart beats, it is because he allows it. any job that I get, any income that I have, any health that I have that allows me to have a job, to earn money, to have a house, comes from him. Every minute I am in his debt. How can I say that I have anything of myself? So as we go throughout our lives each day, as we are in different situations, are we making people's lives harder or easier? You know, when you go out to eat with your family, like we did and still do with my four sons, they were little. Uh, we would go to a restaurant and it was a total disaster at the time we left. High chairs, food on the benches, food on the floor, food all over the table. We tried to clean up. We tried to clean up the floor. We clean up the benches, the table, make their lives easier. When you go away for the weekend or for a few days and you spend time at a hotel, are you making those people that clean those rooms, their jobs harder or easier? You know, are you putting garbage in the garbage can? Are you, piling up all the towels into one area? Or are you making life difficult? You know, when people come to your work and clean the office, do you make their jobs easier by how you keep your office um, harder or easier? You know, if you're married and you have a spouse, are you making your wife or your husband's job harder or easier by how you clean up after yourself? Do you have to have a wife remind you of what to clean up and what to fix in a house? You already know, you see the needs, take care of it. You're making her job harder or easier. So many situations that you need to consider. You know, the young men and women that I'm talking to, do you make your parents' job easier or harder? You know, do they have to remind you constantly to clean up after yourself, clean your room? They have to say, hey, your grades are coming down. You know, you've got C's and D's. What can you do? Or do you say, Mom, my grades are not what I want them to be. I'm going to go in early to school. Dad, I did poorly on this last test. I'm going to stay after school, talk to the teacher, and see if I can retake it. Take initiative. You're almost adults. You need to act like and prepare to be adults. So, if you want to be called by his name, you have to act like he acts. Going back to that scripture, if you are desirous to come unto the fold of God and to be called his people, are you willing to help bear others' burdens that they may be light? Are you willing to mourn those that mourn and comfort those that stand in need and comfort? Are you a Christian in word only or in actions too?